Good morning, friends. Happy Daylight Saving Time Sunday. And welcome to Soul Steps with Dr. Wren. I hope you enjoyed your extra hour of slumber. I know I did, because I was like a whole grown-up last night and I did a cool thing and went to an art gallery. I actually saw someone who I knew, who I hadn't seen in a couple of years. So that was fun. And I met some new friends. Well, one new friend. I'm counting it. You know, the older you get, the harder it is to make friends. I was just telling someone about how my son Josiah, is 5, and he makes a new friend like every day. But me, on the other hand, much harder to make new friends. So I always celebrate it when I do. So I got a chance to see one of my friend's art pieces. So beautiful. Well, she had 3 pieces that were in the gallery. And then we were dreaming of fun things to do together. So stay tuned. More fun things to come. Well, today I'm going to have some grief talk with you in recognition that it is All Souls Day. My ears are weird. Hold on. I am cold, but look at the sky. I'm cold. It's 44 degrees. I'm not going to lie, but I couldn't hear. I could hear, but it was like weird. And so anyway, it's All Souls Day today, which is a day to remember everyone you love who has departed this lifetime, this manifestation of existence, which I don't know what you believe, but I believe that is not all that there is. Some people do think that this is all there is. This is all there is, and after this, that's it. I mean, what a waste if that's true. I feel like what a waste of this amazing creation and our consciousness, our ability to behold creation. There's a cool book called, I read it a while ago, but I think it's like The Universe is a Green Dragon. That might actually be the title. A really great read that wonders out loud about what is the role of humanity in the universe, our ability to behold creation and stand in awe. Were we created to stand in awe of beauty? Is that part of our core being? I mean, seeing all those beautiful art pieces that, sometimes when you go see modern art in particular, you're like, I could do that. Okay, but did you? Did you do that? No, you didn't. Someone else did. And can you appreciate the beauty in how someone else puts things together? So it made me inspired to create things. I do like creating things. I'm working on a blanket that I had planned 4 years ago. And it's bringing me a lot of joy. I love knitting when it's cold outside. For some reason, it's hard for me to knit in the summer. It's just, I don't know. It's like a mental block. But I love knitting in the winter. I'm like such a grandma. I'm ready for I'm not ready for my grandma era. In terms of none of my children are ready to make me a grandma. However, I could be like an auntie in the meantime. And, but yeah, if I am blessed to be an actual grandma, I will be knitting all of the heirloom blankets. I will be knitting all of the heirloom blankets and little booties and hats and all the cute things. That's going to be me. In the meantime, I'm making myself a blanket, and I think I'll finish that. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not doing too bad, especially now that I have all these sport events to go to, which are great for knitting, unless you have to record. But I might get a stand, especially for basketball. I think I need to get like a tripod. Well, I have a tripod. So I need to think about that. Anyhow, you always get a little update on my life as I'm talking to you before I get into the word. Sorry. I mean, I'm a real person, so you get to know me as a person, and that's the price of admission. Okay, so grief talk today on All Souls Day. You know, I have been a sojourner of grief since 2017 was when my grief journey in full started. Now, prior to that, I had lost grandparents, and the passing of my mother's mother, Alice, was particularly hard for me, but not in the same way that I experienced grief in 2017. I mean, I did experience grief over my own life, so I guess that's not really true. I had been in a decade of mourning of the life that I had planned for myself that was no more. In an instant was made impossible. And but that wasn't like a conscious, intentional grief. Like, grief will come at you in ways you cannot deny. So it was kind of like I did not welcome grief into my life, but I accepted it as like a barnacle on the hull of a boat, kind of like an annoyance. But then in 2017, when my mother lost a great deal of her functionality due to stroke, and later that year, my eldest sister breathed her last breath and was no more, that was a call to action to live my own life with more intention. That was the start of my spiritual awakening. Reawakening? I don't know how you want to call it. But something woke up deep down inside. And several years later, 17, 18, 19, 20, 4 years later, when my other sister, after being repatriated from Dubai to America, right at the cusp of the pandemic, well, it was really, 2020 was when she came back, and we did not know how sick she was. Nobody knew. Well, some people knew, but they didn't convey. I don't understand why. I feel like I would have made different choices had I known how terrible her health condition was. Her body was being destroyed, overrun with ovarian cancer. She suffered for many years with endometriosis. She had developed something called pseudocyesis, like a belief that you're pregnant. It was really a tumor. And she was so far away. It's like, how can you help someone? She had all kinds of challenges. But she came back to this country, and I actually didn't see her that time. My husband met her at the airport. I'm not sure why I didn't go, but he met her there and helped her on a connecting flight. And then another point in time, my parents and my brother went down to see her. Again, I'm like, why didn't I go? You think you have more time. That's it. That's why. That's exactly why. And but we talked on the phone, which is another thing I learned. You can never tell how sick somebody is if you're just talking to them on the phone. She would never get on camera, though. That should have been a red flag. Anyhow, it was late when I saw the pictures of that visit. I think it was a Christmas visit. I wanted her to come up, and she said, "Oh, I can't." And they went down to see her. And I saw the pictures of her frail body. My sister was sexy. She was full of passion, and she was voluptuous and just beautiful, and she had like a racially ambiguous appearance, and so she was like one of those like global beauties. And as a young girl, I remember rummaging through her belongings, and it was like a treasure chest of sensuality, and her lace lingerie and her pins that were like forbidden images that like we were not allowed to have, see, know of any of these things. One time I actually found her birth control pills and took them to school, thought I was something. I got in a lot of trouble for that. I didn't know what they were. It was just like this cool little circle, thought it was candy. I didn't take any, but I was just trying to be cool, like my sister. And so I always just loved her sensuality. I was so attracted to that. Still, it just stays with you like a echo of a perfume. She was so captivating. Anyhow, so to have a person like that reduced to skeletal frame is stark, but she was still super spicy. And I got a phone call one August, and it was from the hospital in Thomasville. She had been in and out of the hospital for months and months and months, and they were like, she's not good, someone should come. And so I threw my 1-year-old baby in the car and drove 4 hours to Thomasville and had her son, my nephew, come up from Miami. I got a hotel room. I had an aunt that drove up to watch the baby because this was COVID. You could only have one visitor per day at the hospital. So her son and I alternated days. We sat watch at her bedside, and I was knitting a blanket. Oh man, the memories. I was knitting a baby blanket for my son at her bedside, and just talking to her, she was not really with it. And on the 5th day, she started talking. She said, like, go wash your hands over there. I'm like, hello, like, hi. And then she just started talking. I said, well, do you know who I am? And she said, you're my sister. And she came back from the edge of death. Her sodium was inconsistent with life prior to that, and they were, she had a PET scan that revealed cancer everywhere. The doctor said, this is like the last hurrah. It will not last. Maybe she has a couple of days, especially if we don't do any more, life extending measures. And she wanted to live. So I told her, I had this completely insane notion. It was really based in love that my sister would not die alone in the hospital. And I said, you can come with me, but you'd have to be on hospice. Like, I can't be taking you back and forth to the hospital like this. And she agreed. So I got all of her belongings. She didn't have much. And we had like a 3-car caravan. I don't remember who was in the 3rd car. Maybe it was just a 2-car caravan. My uncle came up, and she had like colostomy, ileostomy. It was a messy, painful death. And I brought her home, and I don't know, it had to have been the hand of God, because even saying it out loud, it sounds completely impractical. But I brought her home, and my house was a place where everybody could visit with her. So they came from far and wide to visit with her. Her father came from California, and people hadn't seen her for decades, because she was in Dubai for so long. And man, it's really daytime now. Oh, this is the time change, I feel. Oh, yes. I mean, it's late for me still, but it's kind of nice. Anyhow, her father got to see her. My parents came back down. Just people had a chance to sit with her and enjoy her presence. My children got to meet her. It was lovely, but it was so hard. She was sick and demanding, and I wish that, I don't know. How can I wish for anything? I had no idea what I was doing. I will say that this way. I learned that when you are caring for someone at the end of their life, there are highs and lows, and don't take anything too seriously or personally. I wish I had more patience, more perspective, but it was impossible to have. So, I kept a journal. I would write haikus and short poems out of my frustration with her demands or her unreasonable behavior, like spending thousands of dollars on Amazon overnight for a trip to California that was never going to happen. But I now know the ways in which she held on to life was to hope for more. Isn't that what we all do? So, it's 17 minutes in. So if you've been walking with me, congratulations, you're done. I will have to find another day to remember all the other departed. But I guess today I will just, let my sister's story rest with you. She passed peacefully in my home, and we were able to plan her janazah and her Muslim burial. Before she passed, she met the sisters who would prepare her for burial. And man, the Muslim community, I am forever grateful for people near and far who helped me to honor her faith tradition. It was beautiful, so beautiful. And so I remember her every time I see a butterfly. I remember my sister Aziza. That was the name she chose for herself. And I remember her every time I see anything beautiful or anything sensuous or anything, full of that captivating beauty. That's what she embodied every day. And she followed her love wherever it took her. I joked with her because she was married many times, 7 times. And I was like, you're not supposed to marry everybody you fall in love with. But anyway, I've got to go because there's a 20-minute limit on the reels. But move your body with intention today. I'll remember those that you love that went before, and I'll pray for them today. Bye.